I'm not paying my student loans. The government keeps threatening all these things they're going to do to people if they don't pay their student loans. I don't think they realize we don't care.
Hi, my name is Meredith St. John, and I'm not paying my debt anymore because all of it is literally made up.
What if we all collectively decided we are going to max out our credit cards and not pay it off?
Welcome to another episode of Make Gains. Today we're going to be talking about the debt strike 2025. Folks refusing to pay off any debt. So let's get into it.
Just don't pay your loans back. You don't owe anybody anything anyway. You see, the money that you've taken out as a loan is yours. You created it. If people understood exactly how money works, you'd understand that you don't owe anybody any money. When you take out a loan from the bank, where does that money come from? We're sold this idea that when you take a loan from the bank is somehow giving you something that they already own, and therefore you have to give it back. But the thing is, when you take out a loan, that money didn't exist until you signed that piece of paper and gave the order to the bank to create that money. You created the money. Your signature created the money. You are the backing for the loan. When you understand that you don't owe the bank anything because it didn't exist until you created it, why do you have to pay it back? And so they then threaten you with this idea, well, if you don't pay it back, you might get a CCJ and it might go on your credit report, right? Okay, this is the problem. We're told that debt is a good thing to have, but not told what debt should be used for. Debt should be used to buy assets, because once you've got assets that create money themselves, you then don't care about your credit report because banks will just throw money at you anyway. So don't pay your debts back. Nothing's going to happen, and then make money.
This is horrible advice. Yeah, don't listen to anything this guy says, because at the end of the day, whenever you take out a loan, if you choose not to pay it back, then you're going to have a really difficult time doing what he said at the end, which is creating assets that make you money. If you choose not to pay back your debt, a lot of things can happen. For one, you're going to potentially get sued. Depending on what type of debt it is, you may be forced to pay it back. The government, they don't play around. But if it's something like a home loan, like what he's talking about here, where you're putting your name on a piece of paper, you're signing for a loan from the bank. If you choose not to pay that back, they will come and take your assets from you. They will. And if you don't have any assets, so let's say it's an unsecured loan, there is a chance that they can sue you and then put a lien against you. They could have your debt automatically deducted from your paychecks. That will happen with the federal government. So if you get a loan from student loans and you decide to stop paying, they will take that out of your paycheck. They will deduct that out of your retirement money whenever you retire. So big problems can happen from this.
I'm 23 and I'm in $300,000 of debt, and I'm not stressed about it. If I passed away tomorrow, that debt disappears. And honestly, as long as I can afford my daily Starbucks, I'm good. I am not stressing.
Yeah, she's right about the debt disappearing if you pass away. She's 23 years old. She's got a lot of life left to live. There's going to be problems with her trying to just have a good life, outside of her biscuit and Starbucks drink, right? If you want to get a house and you just have stopped paying your debt, then you're not going to be able to do that. So if you want to rent the rest of your life, you want to have your wages garnished, go for it. But she did look carefree biting into that biscuit, didn't she?
I'm not paying my student loans. The government keeps threatening all these things they're going to do to people if they don't pay their student loans. I don't think they realize we don't care. We don't care about credit scores anymore. We don't care if you siphon our paychecks. We're just going to quit and move on to the next company because that company was probably going to fire us anyway. These empty threats aren't scaring us if the government's watching. It doesn't scare us. We don't have enough for that to scare us. So I won't pay the hospital if you take my student loans out of my check. It's one or the other. We pay our health care and our medical bills, or we pay our student loan bills. or our credit cards or our loans. We can't pay it all. We're not making enough to pay it all. We literally can barely afford life. We're just choosing which bills to pay. And the student loan one was taken off of the plate. Back when I was paying my student loans and the economy was a little better, I had more money back then, even with paying the student loans. I have less money now, and you want to take the student loans on top of it. I can't even be nervous about it because I can't afford it. I don't know what you're going to take from me, but whatever you take, that means I'm not going to pay something else because I don't have that kind of money. My job just doesn't pay.
She's talking about an income problem. If you're not making enough to pay all of your bills, you may have no choice. If you have borrowed so much money that you cannot pay your debt, then you need to be making more money. It might be easier said than done, but it's really just that simple. Because this is no way to live long term. It just isn't. You can't be covered up in debt to the point where you can't pay all of your bills and eat too. If you find yourself in this situation, number one is you need to find the job that pays the most. And I know a lot of folks will say, I'm just comfortable where I'm at, or I like my job, and that's fine. Stay there. But you're going to need to be working another job, or you're going to need to be having a side hustle to make some extra money. Either that, or you need to cut back on your expenses. I have a suspicion that many of these folks are saying, I can't pay my debts, probably have a car payment also. You've got to prioritize your operations so that one, you can pay your bills, and two, you've got to be able to eat, right? So those are important. You need to prioritize housing, food, and then pay all your bills. But if you find that you can't afford all that, then you need to eliminate as many of your bills as possible. So anything you can sell, you need to sell it. If you've got a car, you need to sell it and buy a car you can pay for with cash. If you've got an expensive car, you probably need to sell that and get something that will become much more affordable. And then as far as all the debt goes, you got to snowball that sucker, right? You got to pay off your high interest debt first. That's the smartest way to do it. Dave Ramsey says to do the snowball, you pay the smallest one first. It doesn't really matter, but the smartest way to do it is to pay the highest interest first. That'll save you more money in the long run. But there is something psychologically satisfying about getting one paid off, right? So if you've got small debt, I have no problem with that. Either way is fine, but you got to pay off those credit cards and get out of debt.
Hi, my name is Meredith St. John, and I'm not paying my debt anymore because all of it is literally made up. The United States government doesn't pay their debt either. Those millionaires in the wealthy class, hey, they don't pay their debt either. They don't even pay their fines. They file bankruptcy. And if you're afraid to do it, that's fine. I'll do it on my own. I'll document everything, and I'll show you how easy it is to get around this. I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of watching people suffer. I'm sick and tired of us not knowing what to do. I'm sick and tired of the Democrats going and sitting on their hands in Congress and in the House of Representatives. I'm doing something, and it might be delusional. It might amount to nothing. I don't care, dude. I literally don't care. All of us should be crashing out more. This is one thing I know. We need to come for their wallets. We can never organize enough to boycott something. None of us have the discipline to strike and to boycott. And we have FOMO, so how about we keep our money? How about a revolution where we rest? How about a revolution where we do less? Every single time we have to revolt against the government and stand up for our rights, we're working way too much. What we have to do is take our money back. We have to take our time back. We have to take our rest back. This is ridiculous. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing.
Okay, I think there's a little bit of crazy there. Refusing to pay your bills is not going to hurt anybody. These big corporations, you choose not to pay your credit card bills, it's not going to hurt them that bad. I mean, they're just going to write it off. But saying that you're going to do like the government does because the government doesn't pay their bills, they don't pay their debt, it's actually not exactly true. Okay, we do pay the interest for our debt, and we need to be paying our debt, but we can't operate like the government, all right? We need to operate better than the government. If everybody operates like the government, then everybody's going to have problems, which most people do. Most people are in debt. My challenge to you is to rebel against the societal way of thinking, which is keeping up with the Joneses and needing to have things. Things are not going to make you happy. They're just not. But being able to pay off all of your debt and pay for things with cash and then be able to do what you want, there's something very freeing about that. Once you don't have any debt and you have several months of expenses saved up, that is freeing. It gives you the ability to make choices. If you decide you want to change your job, it's not as big of a risk for you. If you decide you want to open a business, you can do that and you're not risking everything. But this idea that we're going to just stop paying our bills, that's how we're going to revolt because you're tired of what's happening in the government, it's not logical. Not logical. Don't fall into this one, guys.
Your student loans, are you paying minimum monthly payments on these? What's
I have
happening?
never made a payment.
Are payments required currently?
I think they are. They started, I believe, last year. You see, I graduated in 2019. COVID happened right afterwards. So we didn't have to pay for 2 years. I was in deep.
You let them know you're in deep. You ask for deferral or you ask to be put on an income-based repayment. We don't just not pay them. They will garnish your wages. They will f you.
I was waiting for Biden to forgive them.
Yeah, how'd that go?
He's gonna get it.
No, he's not. The Supreme Court said no.
He's gonna try again.
The Supreme Court said no. It doesn't matter.
I have hope.
Hope doesn't really pay off debts.
I have hope. Our next president will help.
The next president is either Biden or Trump.
I know.
They're,
Maybe Trump will find it in his heart to forgive us.
no, he doesn't want to.
Will
He's
happen.
not for that.
Something will happen.
How are you just saying that? What do you mean? Is this how you live your life?
Yes, I'm very optimistic. Something will
Yeah,
happen.
but that's stupid as You gotta live in the real world.
Sometimes you have to take a risk.
That's not taking a risk. That's being a dumb.
I love Caleb. He keeps it real. He's right. This isn't taking a risk. It is being stupid. You can't just not pay federal student loans. They will garnish your wages. They will not pay you Social Security. This stuff will stick with you forever. You can't file bankruptcy and get away from this stuff. You have to pay it back. Besides it just not being a good idea financially, it's morally wrong to not pay someone who you owe money to. So what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the kind of person who has integrity, or the kind of person who's trying to squirrel your way out of everything around you and avoid doing the right thing? It's not better for you. It's not going to benefit you. So let's pay those debts off, and then we can really live a free life.
I filed for bankruptcy in 2022 and I was ahead of my time because the debt strike. Bankruptcy is political, babes. Bankruptcy is the rebellion. People are so worried about their credit scores. You're not paying your debts is going to only hurt you. Filing for bankruptcy raised my credit score by like 100 points overnight because I was no longer missing payment. And it just hurt the companies. So screw them.
Again, horrible advice. So yes, filing for bankruptcy does dissolve those, the credit card debt you have. But you know what it also does? It keeps you from being able to buy anything. I mean, nobody's going to give you a loan. That stuff shows up on your credit report. It can make it difficult for you to get a job also. Employers pull your credit history. What they're looking for is they want someone working for them who's going to have integrity. So if you refuse to pay your debts and then say, hey, I'm just not going to pay them, I can't handle that, that says something about you. And employers can choose to not give you a job because of things like that. Not only will it keep you from getting a loan, it could stop you from being able to make money. It could keep you from being able to get a house or an apartment. People don't want to let people live in their rental properties if there's a giant chance that they may not be able to get the money that you're promising you're going to give. So this stuff is a bad idea. You don't want to file bankruptcy to improve your credit score by 100 points. What's going to work out a lot better is if you just pay your debts. And then if you have some open credit lines available that you're not using, then that will improve your credit score. But if you pay with cash, like Dave Ramsey always says, then you don't need credit score.
Why would I make plans for my future? Why would I try to worry about money? Why would I center my life around money? That makes absolutely no sense. Because everything that's happening right now is evidence of the fact that none of that matters. It will never bring you an ounce of security. You can have insurance and it will be taken away from you. You can have your health and it will be taken away from you. You can have your 401k, your stocks, your investments, whatever, and they will always be taken away from you.
Nobody's taking away your 401k, your stocks, your investments, okay? I think this may be the same girl as a few videos ago. Guys, this attitude of why worry about money? Well, here's why you worry about money. Do you have a family? If you have children, if you have a spouse, that's a great reason to worry about money. If it's just you and you want to live in a car for the rest of your life and go from low-paying job to low-paying job and never be able to really have any stability, sure, don't worry about money. Screw it. Who cares? But if you want some freedom, stability in your life, you've got to worry about money.
When you die, your federal student loans get canceled. And the government knows as you get older, they're not going to collect that money. This isn't unique to student debt. This is across the board debts owed to the federal government. They can say, look, if we know we're not going to collect, we can just cancel it, which actually saves the government money. It costs them money to try to collect on accounts they know they're never going to get, and they're just going to cancel in the end. So what we're saying is, instead of canceling the debt when people die, give people back their golden years.
Why would the government cancel your loans or debt to give you back your golden years? Why would they do that? Why would anyone do that? Money isn't free. Most of us are taxpayers. So when young people are getting student loans, what money are they using? They're using taxpayer money. These debts are going to last your whole life if you don't pay them off. Now, what he's saying is true. These federal debts, they do disappear whenever you die. Now, some debts are required to be paid out by your estate. Others are not. Student loans, I believe, is one of the ones that will not be paid out of your estate whenever you die. It's just canceled. But what they will do is they'll take it out of your Social Security payments. So if you choose not to pay this stuff, then basically what you're going to have happen is it's going to be deducted out of your Social Security, and your payment is going to be much smaller because they're going to get their money. They're not just going to forgive it. I get what he's saying. It's kind of like that other girl who thinks it's going to be forgiven. It's not going to happen. We've had the Supreme Court say no to that. You're stuck with it. If you took the loan, then you need to repay that loan. All right? It's the right thing to do. The earlier you get started on that, the better you're going to be, because a lot of people are just paying the interest on that, which you'll hear folks say, yeah, I've been paying on it for 30 years and I owe more than what I did to start with. You can't just pay the minimum payment. You got to be making big payments and really try to get out from under it. They make it low so that you can just defer it or keep the payments low and it's not too difficult on people, but that's not the way to approach this. If you do it that way, then you're going to have this debt your whole life, which I think is horrible. Most people just don't understand how it works. So they're willing to just take the very smallest payment and push it out as far as possible. People are doing that with things like their car payments too, which is why you see these 10, 15-year loans on cars, which should not even be allowed, but people are doing this stuff.
Don't pay your credit card off. What if we all collectively decided we are going to max out our credit cards and not pay it off? Like if we got a group of 100,000 people to max out their credit cards and then not pay it off, what are they going to do? All those credit card companies, they're going to go completely bankrupt. What's going to happen to the American dollar? It's not even real. The American dollar does not exist. There's not a certain amount of money that we have that's connected to how much gold we have. That does not exist anymore. We literally are just making more and more debt. Did you know the money you have in the bank, they don't actually have that money sitting there. It's just a number. They don't actually have everyone's money sitting in the bank. It's literally just a number. Money is just a number. Money is not real. Something is going to need to happen because the system is collapsing. Everyone's bills are going way too high, rent's way too high, and people can't find jobs. Their jobs aren't paying enough. We need to do something. We need to come together and make a change.
So she's right about the second half of that video. We're not on the gold standard anymore. Banks don't have your money sitting there waiting for you to take it out. But if you come to the bank and you say, I want to take out my money, they will give it to you. And if they don't have enough, they'll order it and it'll be there in a few days. You don't have to worry about that. It is federally insured, so it's not like it's not really there or they don't have it. That's not true. Now, what she said is about companies not paying enough. That's a fact. I believe companies aren't paying enough. What she said about the dollar decreasing in value, that is true also. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the first half of her video is true. What she's basically saying is that we need to steal. That is morally, ethically wrong to, on purpose, max out all of your credit cards and then just say, I'm not paying them back ever. That is theft, all right? So if you have children who think this way, you need to do better to train them in the difference between right and wrong. And the way that we make change is not by stealing. The way that we make change is by petitioning the government, running for office. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do to make changes, but stealing is not going to make a change.
How to get rid of your student loans super quick? Unethically, of course. So student loans you cannot declare bankruptcy on. They are bankruptcy protected. So here's what you do. Go to the bank and get a line of credit or get several credit cards that equal the amount of your student loan. And if you're going to say, oh, but they won't approve me for that much. Yes, they will. Just lie. If your income is $40,000 a year, say it's $150,000. They don't check. Believe me, they don't check. They want you in debt. They want to be making money off you. So max the shit out of those. Now, you're going to say, John, I can't pay my student loan with a credit card. That's okay. You do a balance transfer. You take the balance from the credit card, transfer it into your bank account. They charge you a fee for that. It's not going to matter in a second. And then once it's in your bank account, you pay your student loans with it. Then you declare bankruptcy.
Okay. A lot of problems with this. What he's saying may, in theory, work a little bit. You can't just do a balance transfer or transfer money from your credit card to your bank. That's not a balance transfer. A balance transfer is whenever you have debt on one card and you transfer the balance of that debt to another card, and they give you a lower interest rate typically for a period of time because you did a balance transfer. What he's talking about is a cash withdrawal. You can do that on credit cards, but typically they limit you to a certain amount and they charge you a fee. So in theory, what he's saying might work. It is unethical. You probably go to jail for this, but it might work. Please don't try. There was an interesting comment on this one. Someone said, that's how I financed my master's degree, except I did a payment plan throughout the semester, put it on credit cards, and then paid them off as much as I could monthly. Graduated with like $25,000 to $30,000 in debt, and have ever since just balance transferred from 0% cards to the next 0% card. LMAO. Another person said, infinity balance transfer unlocked. If you're just transferring balances to keep 0% and then you're paying it down, that's not unethical. That's not wrong. But just saying, I'm going to do a cash advance on all my credit cards and then just never pay them, that is stealing. He was right. That is unethical. You might go to jail for that.
If there is one thing I will never understand, it's how people know they owe other people money and never care to pay them back. Listen, I don't care if I owe you a quarter or $500. I am getting you that money back ASAP. If I owe you 50 cents, I'm digging through my purse, looking through my car to find you that 50 cents. The fact that there are people out in this world who are total freeloaders, who are asking for their grandpa, mom, a sibling, a best friend to loan them $300 because they're having a hard time, and then never have the respect to pay that person back. Yet they go on to buy things that are not necessities. They go on to buy things that are luxuries, such as getting a tattoo, buying a name brand purse, going on a vacation, knowing they owe people hundreds to thousands of dollars. The disrespect there is so loud. And what's sad is so many people do this. So many people give this sob story of how they're having a hard time and they need to borrow some money. Borrowing money, knowing that there is absolutely the intent of paying the other person back, yet they don't care. They never pay them back. I'm not talking about the situations where someone's going through a hard time and you give them $40 with no expectation of paying them back. I've done that. I'm talking about situations where someone you know reaches out to you and is like, hey, I lost my job. Do you have any money you can give me for now? I'll pay you back when I get a new job. You send them $200 and they never give you money back. They're on Facebook talking about all these trips they go on, like so disrespectful. I could never.
I agree with her. That is very disrespectful. There are people all over the place doing this. You hear these stories all the time, right? My personal policy has become that if somebody asks me for money because they're in a hard spot, I'm going to give it to them without expecting anything back. And the reason I want to do that is because money causes problems in relationships. If you have a family member and they owe you several $100s and they don't pay you back, Thanksgiving and Christmas are going to be a little bit awkward. So many people will approach this and say, loan me money, and then they'll never pay it back. Those aren't the kind of people I want in my life. I want people who have honor, integrity, and care about doing the right thing. These are values that are important that we need to be training our children in so that they are not freeloaders. Our children need to understand that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. This is part of making gains, all right? So even if you don't have a lot of money, money doesn't define you. Money is just a tool. A big part of my channel is money, and I think it is important. But whether you have $10 or $10 million, that doesn't change the person. What we need to make sure we're explaining is that integrity and doing what you say you're going to do is way more important. All these values we're talking about are way more important than the money itself. The money is just a tool. If you're poor, it doesn't change who you are. If you're rich, it shouldn't change who you are. So don't let it. Have those strong values, whether you have a lot or have a little. You're going to have deeper, more valuable relationships, and people are going to like you more whenever you do what you say you're going to do. You're the kind of person that follows through with what they say. That is all for today, folks. I encourage you not to participate in the debt strike. And in fact, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to pay off our debt, and then we're going to pay cash and save money. So continue making those gains, guys. I appreciate you. If you watch to the end, you are awesome. And I would ask you just please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, we put out videos on Mondays and Thursdays. So hit subscribe. And if you know somebody who'd be interested in hearing this content, send it their way. All right. Until next time.